Welcome back. This is Cheche. We're live on Citizen TV discussing court politics with ranking members of the coalition. From ODM, we have Secretary General Ababu Namwamba. From the Wiper Party, we have Secretary General Hassan Omar. And from Ford Kenya, do you have a title within Ford Kenya?
Stalwart.
Stalwart, yes, that's a good one to use. Bani Hawale. After the break, we were addressing this issue of inter-party relations and the tensions that exist. But there's a question we've been asking which hasn't been quite answered. Your internal process, which you say you're going to use to choose this presidential flag bearer, given your history. And now I'll come to the panelists, because we've heard the various options you're putting on the table. Ababu, you've been very honest in talking about failures in the past. But given the history, both within the coalition and even ODM itself, do you believe that CORD can put forward an agreeable internal selection process to choose their own presidential flag bearer?
The record does not indicate that. You remember the man in black, and even him, he was at one time in serious trouble.
And then you can rebut.
The general was in trouble.
What's according to credible and trust is very much at stake. They need to up their work. They need to do better than they have done in the history, so that Kalonzo Musyoka, if he loses, he accepts it that he lost. If my friend Watangula he loses, he will accept.
Because it's not just 2007 when you had the fallout. You had the fallout in 2013. That's how Musalia left, isn't it?
And Woodworth, of course, we know that people who do not learn from history always run the risk of repeating the same mistakes. And rather than be burdened by the hiccups of the past, I would rather say that we learn from those experiences. The experience of how His Excellency Kalonzo Musyoka exited ODM, for instance, in the build-up to 2007, was a very painful experience. For me, it should offer some very useful lessons on how to handle partnership and how to build trust moving forward. The challenge that led to the discomfort that my brother Musalia Mudavadi had in 2012, 2013, is also a useful lesson. And what I'm saying is
that... Are the lessons different?
Maybe the principle is pretty much the same. It's about trust. It's about credibility of process. It's about every partner feeling that this is an exercise I am comfortable and confident subjecting myself to. And that's why I talked about credibility. We must put in place a process that is so credible that it will engender, it will build confidence and trust amongst all the partners.
How do you do that? With the prevailing feeling, just a minute, how do you do that when the prevailing feeling is that this process, the candidate is already known?
No, that is your presumption. That is your presumption, and I do not blame you for that presumption, because
generally,
I don't think you have conducted any opinion poll. I don't know, unless you have conducted.
We might not have done one. What the bulk of our viewers,
what I know is that you have fingered the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga as the presumptive candidate because of his towering stature. Because of his, of course, in fact, we started this show by acknowledging that he comes to this race as the front runner. And because of that front runner status, you have already that psychological edge given to him. But that does not mean, Raila Odinga himself has said this repeatedly. He said this even recently while he was out in France, that he is ready to subject himself to a competitive process within CORD, and I believe him. But what we should be emphasizing here is that we will work together to put in place this credible process and make an unequivocal commitment that whoever wins this ticket, be it Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, or Moses Wetangula, CORD will throw its full weight behind that.
What we're going to do to win the credibility of the process is to allow the broadest level of engagement with this process as possible. One of the reasons this public participation thing is in the Constitution as a value is because it legitimizes a process. it gives ownership to the process. So I hope that there will be no citadel of wisdom, a few people who come up and try to run, you know, these cabals which oscillate around of some of our leaders, to come out and say, now we, the citadel, or the House of Wisdom, have come up with this formula. We will suggest. No, you know. Let me tell you this, Mutegi. I am the Secretary General of WIPA. The parties do not lose their identity merely on account that they are in a coalition. If there is an issue that we disagree with, Abab will be the first to do so in his party, I will be the first to do so in my party, and Ford Kenya. So that's why we are telling them reconstitute that management board, so that decisions are taken in a manner that is legitimate and consultative. And therefore that process also will have to be legitimate and consultative. We will open it to the widest possible feedback from our party structures. Like, I will not commit the WIPA party into any candidacy or process before I get the consent of the National Delegates Conference. I will convene the National Delegate Conference so that they can speak to that strategy, they can speak to that process. We will put it through public capital so that it gains public capital through public participation. So I think we'll legitimize the process. But one of the things, Ababu, we need to do, and that's what I spend a lot of my time trying to do, is to manage the interests of incumbents. The incumbents are the most pervasive in terms of the unity of this coalition. They think if you are governor, you must be governor again. So some of them are even asking for direct nomination. Some of them are not allowing people to have rallies in Kakamega. So the interests of the incumbents are the most pervasive interests to the unity of this coalition. So therefore, I have assured and reassured my WIPA colleagues that my brother or sister, as long as there are other candidates, you will face a nomination. And WIPA is in record of conducting nominations that are legitimate, and even the losers of those nominations have backed candidates following those nominations.
And Hassan, that's the same position you have taken anyway. Yes. Yeah.
The question whether code will hold or break, it will not break or hold on any other assumption. It is only on two assumptions. If you assume that it is hinged on an event, then it will break. But if you assume that it is hinged on a process, then it is incumbent upon the leadership, and these are the core principles, to ensure that they prevail upon their lieutenants, their followers, to accept that on that one day of the event of voting or deciding, any of them can win or lose. This is so important because when Kalonzo fell out in 2007, it had nothing to do with Raila. There were supporters who emerged at Khadija Primary School holding a hammer like this and boo him.
Yes.
Kalonzo could not speak.
They changed the history
Raila
of this country
failed
forever.
that day by not managing his side of the coalition. Similarly now, we are going to face, if Wetangula will not manage the younger politicians in his party, if he will not manage some of the loose cannons that he might be having, similarly to Raila and Kalonzo, they must manage the process for the event to be successful.
This is what our viewers are saying.
Yeah.
Any of the three candidates is mature enough to lead the coalition, keep the unity and maturity as the struggle continues. That's Alex in Kakamega. Have another go at it in the same formation you had in the last elections. You are now stronger, and you didn't lose fairly last time. This would be less acrimonious. That's Walter. Do you think Raila will step down for Kalonzo and Weta? Absolutely not. What they're doing is PR. But by the end of the day, Raila will reign. Horde will only form the next government if it pulls KANU into its coalition and makes Gideon Moi the flag bearer of Horde. And then there will be no Horde by the end of this year, because only Raila can challenge His Excellency the President, and that's my show in Nairobi. But the bulk of the messages coming in seem to believe that the presumptive candidate, as you said, is Raila Odinga.
It's the same thing that the presumptive candidate for the Democrats is Hillary Clinton.
Yes.
So therefore everybody, even the media, went to stifle particular competition from Bernie Sanders. In fact, today, if I was an American, I was also in this craze about Clinton and women. If I was an American today, I would have been in the front line for Bernie Sanders. He speaks the social democratic language of democratic socialism. In fact, what we need to define going into the next election is called as an ideological party, so that people can now be able to see we are a party for the weak and the downtrodden and the poor. That's what we need to give space and encourage to in terms of our policies. That's why most of our governors have anchored their policies on some utopian West stage capitalism. And that's why they might make the coalition weaker. So that's why we need to subject each and every candidate to a fair and free nomination process.
But I also like the fact that a lot of our viewers resonate with our position that CORD is as strong as our unity, as our partnership.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think that is a commitment we have made, is a commitment I believe that is unequivocal. We want to keep this coalition going. Challenges of nomination have been with us forever. And I support Senator Hassan when he says that it must start with our own parties in terms of what culture we start building in terms of dealing with primaries. Because the culture of the partner parties will definitely define the culture of the coalition. In ODM, we've already started those measures.
I should have challenged you, Babu, earlier, but one of our viewers does. Tom Ngara. Cheche, he says lessons learned, yet he still talks about removing Madoadoa on national TV. What are you doing? He did actually, in reference to rivals.
That was a term of art. It was a term of art. A term of art used merely to say that we have rivals, or what you may want to call as rivals, who are not part of this coalition, and that in terms of expanding our territories, our first target should really be those rivals that are not part. It was not intended by any stretch of the imagination to evoke those very unfortunate memories.
My question, I want to ask a
question. My comment on this one is the viewers of what they are saying is that I'm pleased, because then it is emphasizing what I believe, that the difference between CORD and Jubilee is that in CORD, Mudumdogo, the one who has that view, might actually be a border rider in Kakamega, Alex, has a say. And that say is concurrent with our views on this panel. Unlike in Jubilee, where on the TNA side, only 36 families of one community in TNA decided that the candidate must be Uhuru. And then they assume that they have decided for the many other people who live outside those 36 families. And you know them. That is not ideal for democracy, and people should be happy that God gave us CORD, because through CORD, the small person can be heard and can express himself.
I want to repeat the issue about trust and about confidence. In view of what happened to Kalonzo Musyoka when he was booed, and in view of what happened in Kakamega when we were thrown trangers, and you say it's not CORD, it was not ODM, what guarantee is it you have that you have a meeting at you didn't go to Kamkunji, or at least to Kibera, you didn't go there. You have a meeting in Kamkunji next weekend.
Yes.
What guarantee is it that if you go, or if Wetangula goes there, he's not going to be booed?
We will cross that bridge when we get there. But I can assure you, we have now matured.
No.
We have now matured.
Allow me.
We have now matured to this extent.
Characterize.
We have matured to this extent.
Yes.
That if I go in a public forum with this many years of addressing rallies in this republic, I'm able to know a designer crowd. Usually it will come from a pocket. But the response of the public is such that even if you try to boo me in Kamkunji, you, the designer crowd that will have been paid 100 people, will be swallowed by the rest. And when that happens, I will not blame anybody. I'll know it is a day in politics.
Allow me to challenge Mutegi, my very good friend Mutegi, attempt to profile my great party, the Orange Party, as a party of No, we are definitely not. And you have seen that anytime we have had elements attempting to besmirch the good name of our party, we have taken action, very decisive action, in terms of punishing. A lot of things have happened after Kasarani. Among the things that have happened that you may not know, because maybe you spend a lot of time in these this light, in this under these lights, is that we have dissolved our elections board. We have put in place a new nomination process, and ODM will never be the same again. We have embarked on a very, very far-reaching internal reform.
That's called. There are calls for you to expand the election board. There are members of parliament crying for.
We are listening. We are listening to all of you.
Let me tell you.
All views will be considered in that whole process. So we are a very progressive party, Mutegi.
Raila is a father to me, and I sit close to him for a long time.
But why did you leave ODM?
I left ODM because the nominations were botched. But that's the reason why every time I feel pained. One of the biggest examples they give is the botched nomination in Mombasa County. Yeah. But that's notwithstanding. He's also a very astute politician. You know, most of the people who are bringing him problems bring nothing to his kitty. You know, those who tell him, walk out. You know, we are ready for a divorce. Those are people who actually need Raila. Because Raila does not need a Luo to get a Luo vote. He does not need all these other, shenanigans around him. So he's very astute to know that. So if Kalonzo is bringing you 1 million votes, or 1.5 million votes, or Wetangula is bringing you a couple of 100,000 votes, you need to mitigate your interests. And you need to tell that person, shut up your loud mouth. Yeah. Because some of these people who pretend to be hitting, they're not doing it for Raila, they're doing it for themselves, so that they can be identified by the Raila group, so that they can get votes. They can get votes. So in that, they mess him up totally. So I think what has happened, there's an acknowledgement of that fact. There's an acknowledgement of the people who can be very costly to accord victory. So I think people are slowly also, if you've realized, these principles have started shedding of some of these characters who go and antagonize Kalonzo Musyoka in Khadija grounds, and the history of the country is changed fundamentally. Because if that little act of stupidity did not take place, Raila today will be president of Kenya, third president, and history will have been totally different. Now you have handed that over to Uhuru Kenyatta. You probably, God knows, but we are now committed to get into the next.
So what guarantee is that it will not happen?
It will not happen. We are there now.
We have the guarantee.
We are the guarantors.
The last time nominations happened, I was not the Secretary General of this party.
Neither was I.
I don't want to sit here and acknowledge losing, a person such as Senator Hassan Omar. he should really be among the orange column. I feel
that's why that opinion poll thing is not right, because they went with an opinion poll to Raila and showed him that I was performing so much poorer to Kajembe. So they manipulate even these outcomes.
And that's why I'm giving a guarantee, and I have given this guarantee, speaking as Secretary General of this party, that ODM is different and we'll do our things. I've told off governors who are masquerading in the villages, asking for free tickets. David, listen to this. And if there is anybody out there, whether you are a governor, a senator, or whoever you are, and you're imagining that you're going to get some free ticket, there is no free ride on this orange train this time round. You are going to compete, and your record shall speak for yourself. If you have spent 5 years representing your own interests instead of serving the people who elected you, masquerading in the village and squandering people's the public funds, this party will definitely not stand with you. And I give you this assurance. I have staked my name on this.
Okay.
My reputation as Secretary General of this party is staked on the character, the credibility of the party nominations going into 2017.
Yeah. That guarantee is not forthcoming, and I want to advise you.
It has just come.
Not to get it. What contributes to that character we are seeing is exactly what the politicians are doing, the leaders of this party, the candidates are doing. They're whipping up the emotions of their supporters. They're giving them high hopes. Their aspirations are rising. They're not going to be able to manage those expectations. While it serves them now in their rest, it will be difficult for them to handle the expectations. And so that's why I'm saying your guarantee might not be...
But David, I've just confirmed here. Yeah. David, what other guarantee do you want when I say...
No. You can
I am willing to support...
may not be
I'm willing to support Moses Wetangula. And I'm telling ODM supporters out there.
Yeah, you see,
we want, just listen to this.
And they may not be ODM supporters who may cause the problem this time. They may be Ford Kenya supporters, as we saw in Kakamega. It was intolerance,
David,
that you didn't want to see an orange shirt, because that was a Ford K event. So that
David.
is a factor. Okay.
Our time is up.
Yeah.
Yes. Our guests have made their points very clearly, and so I will give the final word to our panelists very quickly. Do you think that CORD will survive intact into the next general election, August 2017? Will we still have CORD as you currently see it? Very quickly.
It is an easy story, if you ask me. If I was the one in charge, this is a simple, straight matter. There are presumptive, ticket holders there. The others also need to be pragmatic. I think there is need to manage expectations, to manage the aspirations, to be realistic.
Will CORD
and if that is done,
why are you being diplomatic? If
that is done,
you are now suffering your own.
CORD can survive, and I see this as a very simple matter. I mean, it's just a matter of being practical. It's about being practical.
Mutegi, can CORD survive intact?
Well, they just do host trading. And then they say you be the president, you be the speaker, you be the vice deputy. It can.
It can, no?
It can.
Okay, and so we thank you very much for this robust debate we've had on the politics of CORD. Our time is up, and so we thank our guest, Ababu Namwamba, the Secretary General of ODM and the Budalangi MP. We thank Senator Hassan Omar of Mombasa. He's the Secretary General for WIPER. And we thank Senator Boni Halwale of Kakamega. He's a leading light in Ford, Kenya. Our thanks also to our panelists, David Matali and Mutegi Njau. Thank you for watching Cheche and engaging with us here on Citizen TV. My name is Udwa Kamima. We'll see you next week.